Michael, can you hear me? Just checking.
Yes, hi Lillian, I can hear you.
Hi. Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I see that it's 9 a.m. Should we go ahead and get started? Madam Chair,
Yeah, do we have a quorum?
I think you're muted.
No, I just wondered if we had a quorum. I see August, I see Charles. And I see Dr. Scott. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yep, I think we're good. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Great. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 20th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. I'm going to go ahead and kick us off by reading the preamble. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Call-in users can unmute by using *6. Next slide, please. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter via our website and email have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. All right. Thanks.
Michael, you want to call the roll?
Yes. Downing,
Present.
Fluker, August. Are you muted, August? I'm not. Okay. Well, I can see him. Curry.
Hey, Bart.
He's there.
Here, present.
Okay. McCray Scott,
Present.
Paul, Life.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. First item is a zoning map amendment. And I'm just going to read the rules. For zoning matters, these are public hearings. And first we hear a presentation from staff who will report on the rezoning. Then we will hear sponsor testimony if there is any. So this would be anyone speaking on behalf of the zoning, could be the council person or an owner of the property, or there may not be one if the city is bringing it forward. And then we'll hear public comment. Since this is a public hearing, we'll take testimony from the public. First, we'll hear from proponents, those in audience in favor of the zoning change, and then we'll hear testimony from opponents, those who oppose the zoning change. Please state your name clearly before you speak, simply your name and your address if you're a nearby affected property owner. And we please ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less so we can hear from everyone and move on to other business. So with that, let's please hear from staff about this matter.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd like for Kim Scott to give this presentation.
Good morning, Planning Commission members. This is for map change 2646, the Opportunity Corridor Core Job Zone. The goals of these changes are to update zoning districts for compatibility with adopted planning studies, development plans, and projects, to modify minimum and maximum map setback requirements, and to establish an urban form overlay. The zoning changes proposed here build on years of work contributing to the Opportunity Corridor Plan become a reality. For many of the corridor users, it's a convenient route to some of Cleveland's busiest workplaces. For residents of neighborhoods flanking the corridor, a broader question can be asked: how is How is this corridor to be a catalyst for future investments of viable work centers, identify unique neighborhood assets, and create job opportunities? The purpose for the changes outlined today are to A, establish a new neighborhood fabric, B, to promote the development in line with plans for the area already adopted by the city, C, to establish a green space amenity that would strengthen development potential and existing neighborhoods, D, to establish minimum and maximum map setbacks along the Opportunity Corridor Boulevard between East 73rd and Buckeye, and E, to establish an urban form overlay along East 79th between RTA's Red Line Station and Kinsman Road. And I need you to go back to the page 3. There you go. Thank you. Several studies are baked into the rationale for the changes being proposed today. The Opportunity Corridor Brownfield Area-Wide Plan was completed in 2013 and illustrated an opportunity for mostly vacant land to be transformed into something viable. The study looked at the disinvested area, once home to heavy industries with many workers, and called out development sites for what may be possible in the future. In 2017, the city adopted the East 79th Street TLCI study, which covers East 79th Street between Woodland and Kinsman, and it identifies segments or zones that include culinary, a job generator, and a residential core. 2 of RTA's stations on East 79th that flank the Opportunity Corridor create a unique condition for development and pedestrian activity. Form-based code is a third item that we are heavily invested in planning, and is a zoning code that is currently under consideration for adoption. The Opportunity Corridor area is one of 3 in the city pilot areas that's identified to test the feasibility. This Opportunity Corridor area is one of 3 pilot areas, and we look forward to that coming online. Next slide, please. So this map is the general geography of the area that we're looking at today, the core job zone area, and it is highlighted with a black outline. It might be hard to see, so Maurice, if you can kind of just cursor around the area of the black outline. So the first area that we'll be looking at is the pink area with the yellow star on it. It goes from East 73rd to East 79th, Grand to Rawlings, as well as East 79th to East 81st, from Ewald Road to the RTA's Blue Line. And next slide. So within that geography, the current zoning is general industry B3, semi-industry B2, general retail C1, multifamily C1, and we want that to change to limited retail business D2. Just for some added context, just to the north of the Red Line Station on East 79th is the New Community Apartments, an affordable residential development that was rehabilitated within the last several years. Additionally, Orlando employees utilized the recently renovated Red Line Station at East 79th, which illustrates residential and pedestrian uses here. RTA actually invested over $10 million to rehabilitate that station. And I'm happy just to say, for the record, at one point in time, about 7 years ago or so, that station, as well as the Blue Line Station along East 79th, had been threatened to be closed. And we were able to change the minds of the folks. The limited retail business district here will create consistency with an adjacent geography that was recently rezoned to accommodate a project that the commission saw within the last couple of months. That's the freezer project along the south side of the corridor at East 75th Street. Next slide. The second area for rezoning is where the yellow star is, another pink area. The borders are East 79th to East 81st. between Otter and Kinsman. And this area, per the East 79th Street TLCI study, is considered the residential core. Next slide. This geography currently zones semi-industry B2, general retail C2, multifamily B1 and C1. We want, again, to be rezoned to limited retail business D2. You see the images there at the corner of Kinsman and East 79th, or near the corner of Kinsman and East 79th is Fire Station 26. It's being consolidated with another station in a newly constructed facility that will leave this building as an opportunity for some kind of adaptive reuse. And we're really excited about that because that brings a new retail component into the area. Additionally, there's a vacant church on East 79th Street, just north of the Blue Line station. And as I understand, was built by the first Hungarian congregation established in the country. This is another building that's perfectly situated for adaptive reuse, considering its proximity to the Blue Line station there. Additionally, in this area, there's a recently, I think it was in 2021, the Colfax homes were developed. Those are 36 single-family affordable residential housing units that was developed by Burton Bell Carr along with support from OFA. And then there's another residential development planned at the corner of Kinsman and East 79th Street. The limited retail business district will build off of those developments, those residential development projects, and give the opportunity to infuse the local neighborhood with the establishment of some local retail activity. Next slide. The third geography that we will be looking at is with the stars, the small green area. It is at Hillside and Minnie at the Blue Line and goes eastward to East 81st Street at the Blue Line and Otter. Next slide. This geography is currently zoned semi-industry, B2 and C1. And we think that it should become open space recreation B1. The open space that you're seeing at the image below is Hillside Park, and that's just south of the Blue Line station, west of East 79th Street. It's being used in several ways as a playground and a green space shown there. Additionally, just adjacent from that on the east side of East 79th Street is between 79th and 81st is one of the sewer district's storm management projects that was installed several years ago, and there is a pedestrian pathway along that to go into the neighborhood. And just on the other side of East 81st Street is the Rittal Green Partnership complex or campus. So the Open Space Recreation District would ensure that green space amenities are preserved for the neighborhood. Next slide. The last geography here is bounded by East 79th to Buckeye, south from East 79th in the red line to Rawlings, east on Rawlings to East 83rd, south on East 83rd to Holton, east on Holton to East 90th, and north to the parcels outside of Maselli's Dairy, northwest to East 89th to Evarts, and crossing the corridor to Lisbon and then up to Buckeye. It's kind of a jog, but anyway. Next slide. This geography is currently zoned general industry B3, semi-industry C2, and we think that it should be semi-industry D3 for a number of reasons. So you see an aerial view of the land, the vacant land that's just south of the corridor on the top image. And then the bottom image is just looking southeast from Evarts. The area is currently vacant. with proposals being floated at different degrees of complexities, and it's important to ensure that there is flexibility in what development rises in the future, but to also be mindful of the changes in our environment and encourage clean technology manufacturing. A semi-industry district will allow many types of manufacturing, and we think that it's important to attract industries that can support up and coming markets that would serve the Cleveland region. Next slide. And last is the map setbacks. So the highlighted areas along the corridor in the yellow is the area that we're proposing the map setbacks from 5 feet minimum to a 25-foot maximum. What's really important here is to keep in mind that the multipurpose pathway for the Opportunity Corridor is on the south side of the corridor. And so it's important to have that flexibility in setbacks to accommodate what development may come. And finally, the urban form overlay district on the bottom, it shows basically the bulk of the East 79th Street corridor being proposed to have this overlay applied. It's critical in changing the form and the future of East 79th Street. The introduction of buildings that might line the streets with a high percentage of glazing will encourage and improve the pedestrian experience in terms of activity as well as safety. The overlay will help to stitch together the existing opportunities with development interests that desire to invest in projects that would have a smooth and predictable outcome. And that is what I have for the changes.
Thank you, Kim. Is there anyone additional sponsor speaking to this, or is it just the city at this point? Kim, do you know?
I had a conversation with the councilman within the last 2 days, and I know that he intended to be here, but he is aware. The director and I met with him probably 6 weeks ago or so to talk about the form-based code and just changes in this area. So he is aware and has no objections.
Okay.
Chair, it appears the councilman is here and has raised his hand.
Councilman.
Hey, good morning, and thank you, Ms. Kim Scott, for the wonderful presentation. And just like she just echoed, I am in all support of this zoning. And the mapping, we just want to make sure we get it right, and I'm just in support. I have met with planning numerous times over the last month and a half to discuss different things that we are trying to do, and just making sure everything that goes on in Ward 5, planning has a chance to be able to have first dibs on what's going on. So I do support this.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Starr. It's great to have you here. So welcome. So now we will take public comment. And as I said, this is a public hearing. So first we'll hear from anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this zoning change. Is there anyone? Please just raise your hand and Maurice will identify you. Use the raise hand feature. Maurice, it doesn't seem that there's anyone. Is that
Madam
correct?
Chair, I don't see anybody.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience opposed to the zoning change that would like to speak? Okay, I'm going to close the public portion and open it up to commission members for any comments or a motion.
I'd like to move approval. Downing. I second McCray Scott.
We have a motion and a second. Just want to say thank you to Kim. I know this kind of zoning is really important to follow through on the vision and the promise. And so I'm glad that you guys are really, doing this work. It's hard work, but thank you very much. So let's take the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Abstain.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. We have additional zoning map amendment as is replacing a 10-foot specific map setback on the property line on the southern side of Huff Avenue between 75th and Crawford. Once again, it's a public hearing. We'll hear from staff first. I assume, Kim, you're also speaking to this one?
No, Madam Chair, actually, I am speaking to this one today, giving Kim a break. She had such a large one there.
Oh, good. Go, Maurice.
Okay, so we've got map change 2647. This is not nearly as complex and all-encompassing as the last map change. This is a pretty basic one. This proposal, as the Madam Chairwoman just said, is to remove a 10-foot map setback along the south side of Huff Avenue between East 75th Street and Crawford Avenue, and to replace it with a 0-foot map setback. The purpose is to ensure that the Madam C.J. Walker business project that has been previously approved by the Planning Commission, which I believe was back in June 18th of 2021, to move forward and offer a new diverse mix of commercial uses in the Huff neighborhood. Just a reminder to all of you what a front yard setback actually is, in case anybody is not aware. It's, if you'll see the white line down here at the bottom, that is the area that you're not allowed to construct anything in, and that is the front yard setback. And then with mapped setbacks, they're a little bit different. A required front yard yard space in which no structures may be located except where specifically allowed by the Cleveland zoning code. It's indicated on the building zone maps of the city as from either the property line or the center line of the street. And these take precedence over all other setback regulations, and they can only be changed by legislation, which is why we're here today. Just an image of the setbacks in the area along Huff Avenue. So if you see where my cursor is, this is Huff Avenue. The project is right over here. Again, if you can see where my cursor is, over by Crawford Avenue, near the intersection of Huff. Just some existing conditions pictures of the area in question where the new project is going. As you can see, it's completely vacant right now. And then just to illustrate the map change, we are going from Crawford Avenue to East 75th. We're removing the 10-foot map setback and adding a 0-foot map setback. And the reason we are doing is the 10-foot map setback would reduce the number of parking spaces in the rear of the project, and by reducing the map setback, the development enhances the walkability of Huff Avenue and is consistent with the goals of the form-based code. So the project, as approved, has a 4-foot front yard setback. Obviously, that would not have worked with the 10-foot map setback in the area. And you can see in the red line at the base here at the bottom of the drawing, that is the setback that they're proposing for their structure. It undulates in and out from the front of the building. In other words, it's not a flat front. And again, here we have the proposal and some more pictures, illustrations of the project that was already approved.
Okay, thank you. Is the Councilwoman House or any other sponsors here to speak to the project?
I do not see anybody else here today, but the Councilwoman is in very much support of this project and of the map change.
I assume the council person.
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Okay. Speaking in favor of the zoning change? Just please raise your hand and Maurice will call on you. Doesn't seem like there's anyone speaking in favor. Is there anyone opposed to the zoning change? Okay, we'll close the public portion. Commission members?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I do have a question concerning form-based code and when it might be installed. Because I believe Huff was one of the neighborhoods that was considered as a pilot.
Actually, yeah, Madam, I forgot to mention that. Yes, as in the last map change, this is one of the other pilot areas for the form-based code. And we are moving full steam ahead with the form-based code project. We are looking to hopefully have it adopted by the end of the year. Maybe the director has more information she'd like to share.
Absolutely. This is Director Huang. Thank you, Maurice. Madam Chair, to the Commission. We are currently undergoing legal review, which we hope to complete during the period of recess that Council has over the summer, and then proceed further with more education and outreach, as well as council adoption later this fall. And so these rezonings are really interim rezonings as these projects are moving forward, particularly for Opportunity Corridor. I know there are several projects sort of on the edge, and we just want to make sure that we have and maintain regulation and control over what goes in, AKA no more recycling centers or things like that. So this is an interim change in anticipation of the form-based code being adopted later this year.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I move to approve presentation of zoning.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? We'll call the roll. So Michael?
Downing,
Yes.
Blucher,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Schleif.
Yes.
Motion carries. As I said before, when this came, I think in addition to the zoning change and as well as the project, I think it really is a really wonderful model of starting to really come back and think about neighborhood level retail and how it meets the street. And I really like that about this project. So I'm glad that it's also not just an interim step, but an example of why the form-based code will do a lot for neighborhood level, not just retail, but walkability and transformation. So thank you to the staff and to the director for moving this forward. So now we're going to move on to the design review cases. And the first one is a proposed demolition of Carver Park blocks A and B. This is seeking final approval, and this is at East 55th Street. This was approved with conditions, and those will be on the next page, which they will bring up. And so for the audience, I really want to thank the staff and the director for beginning to put visually here what some of the conditions are for design review, not just for us to see, but for the public to see. So with that, I need to swear in anyone who is speaking to this matter from the applicant. Is Kevin here or anyone else speaking?
Rick DeMarco
Morning.
from GPD Group.
Okay, Rick.
Matt Schmidt from CMHA.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do, yes.
I do.
Okay. Take it away.
All right, I'm going to kick this off and then turn it over to Rick, if that sounds okay with everybody.
Yep.
So just want to say, first of all, good morning and thank you all for hearing our project this morning. Today, we're here to talk about a portion of our Carver Park property that we refer to as the AB block. This is a triangle of property to the south of Quincy Avenue between East 55th and East 46th Street. For reference, the remainder of our Carver Park property is north of Quincy, and this is actually adjacent to our Outhwaite Homes property. So many people just assume that it's part of Outhwaite Homes. It consists of 16 buildings, and we're working on this as part of a larger comprehensive investment strategy that we refer to as our 2045 plan. The 2045 plan is a strategy for how CMHA is looking at our entire portfolio to ensure long-term financial and physical sustainability of our work. In many cases, this includes looking at different funding platforms through HUD, thinking about the financial stability of our properties, but it also considers significant reinvestment in some of our, in some of our properties, and many times, especially looking at our oldest WPA era properties. Recently, you've seen our reinvestments in Woodhill Homes, and I believe it was just at your last meeting, the Carver Park Phase 3 renovations come through. These are all part of that comprehensive portfolio reinvestment strategy. In terms of the Carver Park AB block, after some considerable study, we determined that The buildings in this portion of the property are no longer suitable for meeting the long-term needs of our residents and families. Their physical condition and physical design are not conducive to the level of investment that it would take to renovate these properties to meet the long-term needs of residents. And we, after this study, engaged in about a year-long process through HUD, known as their Section 18 demolition disposition process, to gain approval through HUD to demolish the properties. Upon approval from HUD for this, we began working with residents residing at the property. We have a commitment to maintaining all of our subsidized units through CMHA, knowing the extreme need for affordable housing in Cleveland. As such, we have not lost but maintained all of the subsidy for housing units in the portfolio at the Carver Park A and B block. A portion of that subsidy was transferred to new construction in our Sankofa Village development in the final phases there, and the remaining unit subsidies have been added to our Housing Choice Voucher program for families to take advantage of. As part of our 2045 plan, we are also undertaking the process of developing master plans for our final 3 WPA era properties, which include Lakeview Terrace, our Old Cedar property, as well as Outhwaite Homes. We are given the immediate adjacency of the A-B block to Outhwaite Homes. We are working through and have included this triangular piece of property in our ongoing study of Outhwaite. Plans for that are still developing, but will include affordable and mixed income housing, as well as future community amenities. Right now, the master plan is still in process, but we consider this to be an exciting opportunity as part of the master plan, that when we are to the point where that's developed and we can move forward with construction, we can potentially begin construction on this site, minimizing any need for any relocation as a part of that reconstruction process. In the near term, and I will turn it over to Rick here to talk about what that process is, but in the near term, our plans will be to demolish, regrade, and to green the parcel up to community standard, or excuse me, city standards, while that redevelopment planning is still being put in place and financed for Outhwaite. So, Rick?
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, as Matt mentioned, the property that we're actually demolishing sits along Quincy Avenue and East 55th. And what you'll see is if you look at the northern section where you see the buildings, each one with an address called out above the building, there's 16 actual buildings there that will be demolished as part of this project. There are, I believe, 8 what we will call 3-story buildings, brick masonry buildings with a basement. And then there are approximately 8 what we'll call more townhome buildings, which are 2-story with a crawl space. The buildings will be completely demolished. All the buildings do contain some level of asbestos, so the ACM will be removed, out of the project within the limits of the EPA, and that will be taken care of, and taken to an approved landfill. The basements will be completely demolished, and any of the remaining voids from the basements will be filled with engineered fill so that this site can be developed at a later time. As Mr. Schmidt mentioned, as we demolish everything, the site itself will be brought back. Topsoil will be brought in and seed will be placed, and the area will be fully green and will meet all the stormwater requirements that are, part of all the codes. The sidewalks along Quincy and East 55th will be maintained. So it'll, essentially be a green space until it's developed at a later date, when CMHA develops that further. Pretty much everything within the limits of those, of the roads itself will be demolished. any structure that's out there, any sidewalk that's out there, and, the site will be completely, regraded and reseeded and will be left as a green space. And we would like to, start this construction in June, July, if possible, if you, are kind enough to approve this.
Okay, thank you. Commission members, any questions? I have a couple. Matt, what's the timeline on the planning and the redevelopment is my first. And when you say interim green space, will people be allowed to use it?
So yes, so to your first question, we should be wrapping up the master planning work later this year for Outhwaite. I don't know, I'm not sure what the timeline for the first phases of redevelopment will be yet. That's kind of one of the next pieces we need to work through as a part of that, thinking kind of comprehensively about the portfolio. In all three of the kind of different master plans together, looking at funding and financing opportunities, et cetera. And to your second question, 100% yes, it will be open. We aren't going to be putting up fencing or any of that. We want it to not feel like a vacant lot in the neighborhood, but an open green lawn that we'll be maintaining and mowing, et cetera.
Okay.
In a way, it kind of becomes an extension of immediately to the west of 46. There's the kind of green space triangle in front of the our existing Outhwaite office and the Stokes Museum. So it kind of becomes in the near term an extension of that.
Okay. Commission members, any other questions or comments?
I move approval, Downing.
Second, Fluker.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay. Michael, can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. We'll see you soon when you come back with the plans, hopefully.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. We do appreciate it.
Okay, then next item is East Design Review. This
Just
is
one, Madam Chair, just one moment. I just wanted to note that the design review conditions will be at the end of the project. So before we move into discussion, I'd like for Maurice, for every project to move to the design review comments. Thanks.
That would be great. So there were conditions there, I take it. Do you want us to redo the motion, or are we okay?
Okay, well, they said they would clean and green.
Yep.
And then
The signage.
the signage.
Is okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe now before we vote, we'll ask for you guys to hit those, any conditions, if there are any. Okay. Next item is Southeast Design Review, proposed demolition of a two-story residential structure. This is seeking final approval. It was approved as presented, 3514 East 143rd Street. Stephen, are you here to speak to this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, anybody else with you?
No, not today.
Okay, I'm going to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Steve Billington. I represent the Cuyahoga Land Bank in this matter. The property being considered is we're looking for a proposed demolition of a two-story residential structure at 3514 East 143rd Street in Cleveland. The property was very seriously damaged with fire. As of now, it sits on the forfeiture list, Ohio forfeiture list, and we are intending, if approved, to pull it from the forfeiture list and demolish it within the near future. It's very close to, as you can see from the aerial pictures here, it sits very close to its neighboring property. It's just south of Kinsman Avenue. If you can go to the next slide, please. This is just a quick look at the neighborhood. It's, it is a residential structure, but it is more of a commercial area. It has some apartment buildings behind and across the street, and again, very close to the neighboring property, and then some vacant parcels of land around it as well. If you could go to the next slide, please. This is just a few pictures that were taken from the exterior of the property. Hasn't been field serviced by us. We don't own it yet, but as soon as we do, we'll make an effort to clean up and maintain the property until it's demolished. If you go to the next slide, please. Here's a little bit of the first floor. The fire was on the second floor. You could see in some of these pictures there was water damage and other things. But if you go to the next slide, please, you'll see the primary damage. The entire second floor. I took these pictures. I went up there. It was in very poor condition. It's very unstable and unsafe, and it's deteriorated since the original fire. The roof is kind of deteriorated more. So this is the purpose for kind of acquiring this property and getting it out of the mix of structures in the city. So our proposal is to demolish the vacant fire damaged residential building, finished grade, topsoil, seed and straws, our standard specification. There's a big tree in the back. We intend to maintain the tree, and then use whatever we can to, whatever means to get this property back into productive use.
Okay. Commission members?
Move approval, Downing.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. We'll take the first one. Michael, can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is proposed demolition of a 2-story apartment building seeking final approval at 10713, 10723 Cedar Avenue. This was tabled, so we need to remove this from the table. And I assume this is both matters, correct? The design review as well. Are we going to hear them together to the director?
That's correct. We'll be hearing them together.
Okay, so first, let's remove them from the table. And can I ask, technically, is this one motion to remove them from the table or two?
Madam Chair, that would be 2 separate motions.
Okay, I'm going to remove them both first because I would like to hear the whole project before we act on either the demolition or the new construction. So first one we'll remove from the table is the demolition. Can I have a motion to remove that item from the table?
So move to remove it from the table, Downing.
I'll second.
And a second. Okay, Michael, can you call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. So the second one we'll remove from the table is the proposed development northwest corner of Cedar Avenue and Stokes Boulevard. Can I have a motion to remove this one from the table as well?
I move to remove it from the table, Downing.
Second.
Okay, call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. So anyone who's speaking to this matter, I'm going to swear you in for both items at once. So I'm going to read it, and then anyone to speak, if you could just please say aye or say your name. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, I think I got 4 I do's, so 4 people. Okay,
Don Pettit.
okay. Don, don't you work for the city? Just kidding. All right, take it away to the presenters.
This is Director Huang, Madam Chair. I'd like to give some background just to remind us of the project and share where we've gone since the last presentation. So by way of reminder, the Stokes West team, the design and development team, went through the Euclid Avenue design review on Thursday, March 31st. This body saw the project on Friday, April 1st. Following the presentation regarding the demolition, the commission did table both projects, the demolition and new construction project, and requested that the development team study the existing building and integrating it possibly into the site plan. Some of the concerns expressed were over this type of demolition on the east side due to disinvestment, and emphasizing the importance of Cedar Avenue and its significance for a historically Black community, particularly at the meeting's end. So following that April 1st meeting, the staff from the Planning Commission met with the developers and design team in April. I believe it was April 20th, if I'm correct, to address the following three concerns. One was regarding process and community engagement. So we offered that they should connect with Fairfax Renaissance CDC. Denise was there at that meeting. They had presented since then at the April 12th Ward 6 community meeting, as well as the May 16th Fairfax Renaissance CDC master planning public meeting. So there was a very brief presentation at the end of their meeting on May 16th. The second was that the second recommendation was that the development team would take a tour of the existing townhome with the landmark staff from the Planning Commission on May 4th. And then finally, consideration of strengthening the Cedar Avenue edge for the site plan, given its historic and present day significance. Fairfax Renaissance has worked really hard to ensure that the backs of buildings are not facing Cedar. And that it doesn't become some sort of access road, but really that there's, much more of an edge there. So with that, Don Pettit and Carl Brunges from Landmarks Commission staff were able to go on a tour. We agreed with the development team that Don would present his findings first, and then the development team would follow after him. So without further ado, Don, would you walk through your presentation?
Thank you, Director. We've got a lot of slides. We just want to make sure everyone gets a good impression of the conditions at the building. These first few slides just show the changing context of the neighborhood over the years. You can see it was largely a residential neighborhood originally. By 1951, when, after Carnegie had been put through, it became a much more densely populated neighborhood. And by 1979, you can see that there was considerable disinvestment and loss of historic fabric there. This is the current context. Schuster Terrace is at the bottom of the image, and you can see that there's just a few residential buildings still standing in the neighborhood. These are images from the site visit. This is the rear of the building. If you go to the next one, Maurice, you can see the sides and the rear of the building. And then the next slide shows you the Cedar Avenue elevation. Schuster Terrace was built in 1907 for John W. Schuster, who was in the wine business. He established the first Rathskeller on East 4th Street. The architect was Ernest Huberty. I think it's a significant terrace architecturally, as you can see from these images, including the coins, the keystone lintels, the oriel windows, and the cornice. All of the architecture on this building is on the front facade. If you go to the next slide, this begins the walkthrough images. And Maurice, if you can just scroll through these at a reasonable pace, I'll talk over them. I'm not going to address every image individually. So on May 4th, we walked through 5 of the units. One of them was boarded because of a prior vandalism incident, and we couldn't get good access. The units would have been very nice in their day. Rooms are spacious. There's extensive woodwork in all of the units, though they all have slight variations, including wainscoting, railings, columns, hardwood floors. Kitchens and bathrooms need upgrades. The basements are high ceilinged, and while some of them showed evidence of water, they were mostly dry with little evidence of mold. Electrical, plumbing, heating all need significant upgrades. Walls upstairs showed signs of water from roof leaks, with some missing plaster sections and peeling paint. It's not clear how much of the holes in the walls are due to vandalism and how much to the owners investigating interior wall issues and asbestos. Fireplace surrounds have mostly been removed. Overall, the building seems structurally sound. It needs a new roof, waterproofing, and tuck pointing. I'm not an inspector or an appraiser, but I can tell that this would require a significant investment to bring it up to code. However, under different circumstances, I also think that the building retains enough integrity and original features to justify a restoration. And you can judge from the images yourself.
Director, are we going to go ahead? Can we go ahead to the applicant?
Let's allow Maurice to finish scrolling through so that we can go to the applicant's demolition presentation, and then we can follow that with a brief discussion. And then we'll go into the new construction plan. Okay. All right. There are quite a few photos, as you can see. Perhaps we can think we have an idea of what these buildings look like. So Maurice, perhaps if you could scroll to the presentation. Thank you. I think those are blank.
Madam Chair, are we going to listen to the entire thing, then come back for questions on both presentations?
Yes. If it's okay with you, my preference is to hear the whole thing, and then we will both take questions as well as act on both items after. So to the applicants, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Start with this slide. This is the kind of map of the surrounding area. So based on the last meeting, we also took a look at the community, the surrounding neighborhood, not just our specific site. On this slide, we did want to stress the importance of the new Meyer building for groceries for our tenants with the close proximity. So we did take some of the suggestions and build on that Cedar Avenue connection to the Fairfax neighborhood and that grocery connection. Next slide. And this shows the aerial view of the property of the triangular block with the townhomes that Don just went through on the south side. Next slide. Obviously, you saw Don's photos. I think that's so. Another recommendation is, we looked into we have historic staff that did research on specifically our block as well as the surrounding neighborhood. As you can see from these photos, I guess stay on that previous slide for a minute. These are historic photos of, aside from the townhomes, most of these, they've all been demolished. But the majority of the buildings were wood frame structures, mostly residential with a little bit of retail mixed in. But, the townhome building is not typical of the block. It was, more of a wood frame, wood sided typical construction. The specific to our block, there's nothing of major significance historically. On the across Cedar to the southwest was the Claymore roller rink, and the later became the University Party Center. So that was the most significant building in the neighborhood, and was very important, especially when it came to political events. But that was burned down in 1966, and since then, buildings in the neighborhood have been continuously demolished. Next slide. And this is our salvage plan. I think it's probably better if we go to the next slide, and then we can come back to this one. This shows kind of the aerial view and a rough plan on the right of the existing floor plan. The far right is the first level. The mirror image of that is the second level. So that generally shows the layout that we'd be working with. Looking at, obviously there's the restoration of something exactly how it is, and then there's also restoring it to something that's marketable by today's standards. So if we were to do that, we would need to have 2 bathrooms for the size of the unit. So on the top floor, you saw the photos of the relatively small bathroom that's existing. We would likely lose one of the 3 bedrooms to make it a 2-bed, 2-bath unit. On the first floor, that you can see the kitchen is at the rear of the building, also relatively small compared to today's standards. It is also mostly detached from the rest of the unit, which would prevent the open floor plan that we typically design for most modern units. I think someone in our Euclid Corridor meeting also mentioned just about the accessibility. These are about half a story higher than the street level, so that there is significant steps going up to the units. This would also not allow for an attached garage, which is what we are proposing in our future slides. Exterior walls are also not energy efficient. We would require the removal of the interior plaster to install insulation for the exterior walls. The roofing, doors, windows, the whole exterior envelope would need to be repaired. There's also asbestos and lead paint abatements and water damage throughout. As I think Don mentioned, we would need to put in all new MEP systems. Also, in coordinating with our new building, we would have a fire department access required for the new construction, which would need at least 20 to 26 feet wide drive aisle around the new tower building, which can complicate providing access around the existing townhome. And Sam, I think you wanted to chime in here with the cost financial aspect of it.
Sure, thanks, Steve. Good morning, Planning Commission. Sam Messina with Rust Belt Development, co-developer on the project and in partnership with University Circle, Inc. Appreciate your time today. We had started this conversation in about 2019 with Chris and Debbie at UCI. They had brought us this property with a potential purchase and renovation redevelopment project, standalone from the parcel. After further investigation, we had done a few exercises when it came to due diligence, the abatement, lead paint, structural, waterproofing, etc., with a full renovation, including parking. We're somewhere north of $2 million, somewhere around $2.2 million for a 6-unit renovation, which would exceed potential market value. The square footage of the units as well, from a rental perspective, would likely be in the $4,000 range due to the economic impact with the construction. They're also non-compliant with ADA standards today, so extremely extensive, as Don had said as well. In lieu of that, our replacement is to replace those with, as you'll see in the future slides, 6 plus new townhomes that are a little more accurate to today's marketplace rental and the economics. With that said, I was going to turn it over to our partner at UCI, Elise.
Sure. Thank you, Sam. I just wanted to speak briefly again, just to confirm UCI support for this development project as it moves forward, which we still see over the entire site as a restoration of dense residential fabric that's been lost here, that we hope to restore, that helps unite the energy of University Circle with the investment that's happening in Fairfax, particularly along the Opportunity Corridor, as the team mentioned. I wanted to confirm that as this since this project has come before you, the development team has listened and been responsive to the feedback from Euclid Corridor Design Review, Planning Commission, feedback from the community, working with Council President, Planning Commission staff, Fairfax Renaissance Community Development Corporation. And although the Council President wasn't able to be here this morning, I spoke with him this morning and he authorized me to share that he is supportive of this project. So wanted to be sure to share that note, and we can certainly follow up with a letter formally to be included with the record. I'll share that we're excited by the changes. Due to that feedback and responsiveness, this project has only gotten better. Importantly, and most specifically, fully activating the Cedar Avenue corridor with the proposed new townhouse and row house product, retaining the commitments that were discussed previously about the corners as micro green spaces and public spaces at 2 of them, and thinking about how this housing addresses the needs of the entire district, not only as the furnished studio product that you'll hear about in a moment, targeting about 80% of area median income. The development team has committed to establishing at least 6 units as income restricted affordable housing as a part of the broader development. So we appreciate your review and feedback and look forward to your comments as this development continues to evolve.
Elise, before we go on, because I know you showed the development, is Fairfax also in support of the project?
So we've been working with them. The only concern they've noted is a question more so about the parking variances that are required. As you'll see in the site plan, the project is targeting and anticipating that they'd be requesting about half of the 1-to-1 parking required. City Planning Commission staff can weigh in on this as well. The team is, continuing to do homework to support why they think that parking demand is appropriate for the development that's here. But we've been talking to City Planning Commission staff about an urban form overlay of this district that would reduce the 1-to-1 by 35%, is my understanding. I know that form-based code was referenced and discussed in a few agenda items prior, and that form-based code really calls for the removal of parking requirements and allowing development teams to confirm what the need will be for their site. So this really follows that more future-looking code, but we do anticipate a variance, and that's been the only thing, well, I guess I should say the only thing that we're still working on. Fairfax, along with the council president, it has really, at least with what was initially proposed, was concerned about the way that the development faced Cedar. And with this change, with the row houses, that overarching concern has largely been addressed. I don't think Denise is here today. I don't want to speak for her if she is, if she'd like to share anything.
Well, okay, let's keep going. I shouldn't have asked a question. Anyway, so go ahead.
Well, I do want to clarify, Madam Chair, just for the record, that there currently is not a form-based code for this area, but I think, Elise, it sounded like just referring to form-based code broadly. So just wanted to make sure that the public knew there is not yet a pilot in this area.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go on to the development.
Yeah, if we could just, before we go forward, go back just one slide. We did have and reused, by other people for their own use. So on the top 3 photos, those are the items we would want to incorporate into our project. Some of the stone features of the existing building could be incorporated into the landscaping. In the dining rooms of the existing building, I think it occurs in 3 out of these 6 units. There's a nice stained wood paneling. We'd like to incorporate that and the wood columns to the right into the new interiors. Specifically in the co-working space, we have a library space that we think that would fit very nicely in. 3 of the units, the paneling's either been painted or the columns are missing. And then on the bottom 3 photos, you can see just the wood trim, wood doors, and some of the tubs that could be salvaged and used elsewhere. now we can go forward to the site plan. Then Dominic Drains will take over from here.
Good morning, everyone. So this will be the site plan of our new Stokes West project. Stokes Boulevard being on the bottom of the sheet, 107th on the right and Cedar on the left. As you know, it's a triangular site. In addition to the building design, which we're going to start to talk about, we think it's really important that we also deal with the streetscape and the traffic and make this much more pedestrian oriented as University Circle continues to expand and become more and more of a walkable neighborhood. As we move over across University Circle onto Fairfax, there's a new grocery store that Steve mentioned. We just want to calm traffic, slow down traffic, make this more pedestrian. So as you can see in our site plan here, what we're proposing to do is take one of the traffic lanes off of Stokes and one of the traffic lanes off of Cedar Avenue and provide parallel parking in lieu of those traffic lanes. The intersections are quite complicated. It's all based on, traffic engineers trying to move as many people through this area as possible. So another thing that is important here, I think, is these intersections, simplifying the intersections, making these crosswalks safer and more pedestrian oriented. So that's something we're working with the city on. I know we've talked to Joyce about it, and it's I think we're getting support, but we think it's an important thing not to forget that we need to deal with these streets as well. The site plan itself is it has Stokes Boulevard as the building. Its front door will be Stokes Boulevard, and you can see that we have the building that runs north to south along Stokes. On the north end of the right side, we're proposing a corner pocket park. On the south side, we're doing the same. On the right side or the north side, we want that also to be a location for a monument, a memorial to significant African American residents in the city of Cleveland. We looking at the Stokes brothers, maybe Arnold Pinckney. I think we might like to move that. That's that circular red shape on the point. Really like to take that into maybe a public art competition and make this really more of a process of what that should be and how it should unfold. But we want to devote that section of the site to this homage to some significant, personalities in the history of Cleveland. On the right side, on the left side, on the corner of 100 and Cedar and Stokes, that would be more another pocket park, but more informal and more casual. On the Cedar Road or Cedar Avenue, you see it. It's kind of small, but there's the townhomes that would be taking the frontage of Cedar Avenue. We do have a curb cut between the larger building and the townhomes, which would provide, the fire lane that Steve had mentioned. We did meet with the city, and they do want to have a fire lane both on the Stokes side and on the back of the building. So that's the way we've site planned this, along with the curb cut on 107th that would, provide access to the parking. So the parking is roughly 100 spaces. We have roughly 250 apartments in this project. We can go to the entrance to the building itself is in the center of that bar shaped building on Stokes, and then again opposite that on the west side of the parking side. I want to go to the next slide, please. Could be a perspective view on Stokes, looking south. The building is designed with a strong base, and then it has two towers, a north tower and a south tower. The base of the building is primarily a common area for the residents. This, of the 250 plus units, about 170 of them are micro units. So we wanted to provide a lot of breakout space for those residents to, have a variety of activities within the building. You'll see that as we get into slides further and look at the floor plans. But there's the whole range of active spaces, passive spaces, quiet spaces, like was mentioned. There's a library in there. There'll be fitness. There'll be game tables. There's a whole array of things. But the building is organized aesthetically and as far as its materiality and massing based on the floor planning, where we in the towers have the micro units in the center of each tower, and then we're bookending the micro units with some larger 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. The 1 and 2 bedroom apartments will have even a little more glass. They have balconies. And then in between where the micro units are, you can see there's a patterning of some Juliet balconies, some apartments without any balconies, and they're organized in pairs with the terracotta, that orange material that you see vertically running on facades as the separation of the pairs of micro units. Go to the next slide, please. This would be another view of that north side. We have a significant, that would be the homage to the past significant residents of the city of Cleveland, with that. It's right now a circular shape as a placeholder. What that actually ends up being at the end of the day is yet to be determined. But adjacent to that would be another outdoor space that would feed off of that common area for the residents. And as you can see, we want to have a nice streetscape of landscaping, and then you can see the parking, the parallel parking, which we're proposing on the left side, which is the Stokes Boulevard, to just create more of a pedestrian-friendly environment. Next slide, please. This would be Stokes Boulevard looking north, with the smaller corner pocket park to the left. This end of the building, the south tower, on the ground floor, there's actually these loft style apartments. So there's a 2-story resident living dining space, and then behind the glass and inboard will be some loft level apartments. You'll see this as we get into the floor plans. But we have this very high first floor to accommodate for all that common area space. As it went south and it became all residential, we have these 2-level loft style apartments. Above that are all flats, and this would look at the larger 2-bedroom, 1 and 2 bedroom end apartments that bookend the south tower. Next slide, please. This would be a view from the west side looking towards Case Western Reserve. At the break between the 2 towers is a pool deck and an outdoor recreation space. Pool will be there, sunning deck. There'll be, fire pits. There'll be outdoor kitchens. There'll be outdoor seating areas to watch, games and television. Along this side on the ground plane, there's also an outdoor space as you move out of that common area on the ground floor. There's an outdoor room, which you can see from under that tan-shaped terrace. The materiality of this building is kept fairly simple in that we have glass and metal panels that go between the glass windows, and then we have the orange color is a terracotta material, and we'd like that to be in a open range screen application. The terracotta material has different textures, different shapes, so we're going to be playing with those terracotta textures and shapes to create more interest on the facade. And then all those terraces and trellises will be planted. This rendering doesn't show all the planting on them as the planting matures, but they'll green up that whole center section and middle section with landscaping as it you know, kind of morphs up from the ground plane up into the building and into that middle section. You see a little bit of the townhome to the far right that will be on the Cedar Avenue facade. Next slide, please. This is you know, at the parking level, looking up towards the middle of the building where that pool deck, and that's also the entrance on the you know, the parking lot side. That's where loading will happen with, you know, moving in and moving out. The servicing will occur on the far left and far right off of that fire lane and service lane, and it'll also be our entrance on the west side of the building. Next slide, please. This is a view under Cedar and Stokes, with just the very short end of the Stokes Boulevard building, and then you can see the townhomes to the left, the 6 new townhomes that would be lining Cedar. Again, we want to provide parallel parking on Cedar Avenue here at this point as well. We're proposing to bring the curbs out to, again, shorten those crosswalks between one block to the next. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is another view as we move down Cedar, but 3-story townhomes. Parking would be at the lowest level of the townhomes, and then living dining on the 2nd floor, bedrooms on the top level. This is our access off from Cedar into the parking area. Next slide, please. We have entrances on, these entrances on Cedar are for those townhomes. You know, they're not going to be accessed from the larger building. They're solely accessed from Cedar Avenue as their front door, and then they'll also have an enclosed parking structure with a garage door, you know, on the rear side, on the parking lot side, entering the building. So the residents will also be able to enter internally from that garage into their townhome. Next slide, please. The architecture of the townhomes is very much the same material, same language as the taller building. This would be then a view from 107th and Cedar Corner, looking towards you know, Stokes. Next slide, please. We have a bird's eye view. Oh, so this would be the, sorry, this is the rear of the town. Oh, there you go. This is fine. And then we'll go to the next slide. So this would be from the parking lot side, looking at the townhomes from that parking lot side with the parking garage entrances on the parking side. FYI, we are going to do a lot of electric car stations here. We're going to, for infrastructure, have all of the parking here infrastructure for electric car chargers in the future. Next slide, please. Would be a bird's eye looking to the north. Next slide, please. We can go through these plans quickly. So the yellow area is that middle section where the entrance occurs on Stokes, and then occurs on the west side, on the parking side. To the right is, it's just got a large area of common space. I mean,
sorry to interrupt. We don't need to see too much on the inside, if you don't mind. Our purview is not. So if you want to, very fast.
So just rip through it. So it's common area on the lower level with the, you know, loft style apartments on the left. Next slide. Just kind of rip through these. More residential as you get to the 3rd level. Next slide, please. This is the 4th level, or the pool deck level. Residential, both left and right of it. There's some more common space off the pool, obviously. And then keep going up. You know, the tower on the right side is 1 story taller than the one on the left. Keep going. You don't care about a roof plan. Then this would be the floor plans for the townhomes. See, they're addressing Cedar Avenue. You know, living, dining on the 2nd floor, bedrooms on the 3rd floor. Elevations there, you can see the material, terracotta material, the window system, the metal panels between the glazing, very, keeping the materiality sort of limited, but with the proportions and the patterning and the texturing, to give the building interest, plus all the greening that will occur as all the landscaping we mentioned becomes more mature and, from the ground plane moves up onto that pool deck and into all those outdoor rooms that we talked about. Next slide, please. And this starts our elevations, two-dimensional elevation as we go around. Keep going. There's some more information about the exterior materials. There's some, pictures of the terracotta with the textures we were talking about, and how that can be applied to make for visual interest. Metal panels to the right in two colors we're proposing the metal panel to be. Next slide. These are the balcony inspirations. We're not going to have them closed, have them more open, but this is some ideas there. And then, of course, the big window areas we talked about, and there's some more ideas of that. Next. And then we're really trying to build on this greening of the outside, greening of the inside. We're going to be morphing a lot of landscaping interior also. So the interior will have a lot of interior green planting, a lot of daylight. Go ahead. And then just some ways of dealing with the outdoor furniture, trellis, seating. Last slide, is that it? Okay, and then more of how we're going to deal with that's it. So open for questions, please.
And can you address these two comments from the Euclid Corridor Design Review?
Oh, yeah.
The conditions.
This was a comment from Dick Pace, and I mean, if you look at, I think maybe it's the way it was presented, that we went ahead and, with the addition of the townhomes on Cedar and 107th, I think adding some more landscaping, yeah, I got it. It can help a bit, but the real presence on that corner is going to be the townhomes themselves. If we do anything, we might even look at bringing the townhome a little bit closer to the corner of 107th along Cedar. But I guess we disagree a little bit about that. We think just the proximity of the townhomes to that corner will make for a good experience. Consider the exterior ceiling. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. There was a comment from the ground plane looking up at that pool deck, and you're going to see those ceilings. And yeah, we agree that should be an opportunity to do some really interesting things with the ceiling, lighting, animate that space, which we want it to be animated anyway, because it is a, entertainment and outdoor amenity for the residents. So yeah, we're going to work very much on number 2.
Okay, and I think let's open it up to commission members. Before, I just one quick technical question. Is the commitment, the proposal here to build the townhomes at the same time in the first phase?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they may be the last thing to be built, but when everything is ready for occupancy, the townhomes will be included as part of that occupancy.
Okay, all right.
Madam Chair, we have Kim Scott with her hand raised.
Okay.
Yes, I just want to add that it wasn't not a motion, but there was an issue that was raised regarding the side facades of the townhomes. So on each end, that portion of the walls appeared blank, and that there could be some additional window treatment on those sides. So I just want to make note of that.
Yeah, you're right, Kevin. We agree with that. We are definitely going to work on that some more. I mean, it was a conceptual for design review on the townhomes. We still have more to do there, but absolutely those short ends of the townhomes will have more articulation and windows added. We agree with that comment.
Right, particularly as you're suggesting potentially moving the townhomes closer to the corner of Cedar and 107th.
Yes, right.
Okay, commission members, discussion, comment.
Madam Chair, just a couple items. First of all, I appreciate you know, this presentation, it told a story. That's what things should be about. It shouldn't be about, this is, we want to do this because we can. So I appreciate your attempt to weave a story into the background of this project. One thing that I'm really insulted by as an architect for almost 40 years is all the reasons that these guys have given us why they can't renovate a row house, which, you know, I've done quite a few restoration projects in my life. And so, but I'm going to get over that, right? I think there's just a couple questions I have to the applicant. How are the affordable units integrated across all the classes of unit types?
Sam, do you want to speak to that, Sam?
Sure. Although I'm not the economic guy.
Yeah, right.
You know, about 70% of these units are furnished. We'll call them studios. And so we're doing our best to hit the 80% AMI on those 70 units. Furthermore, we're allocating somewhere between 6 and 10 for the low income or income restricted folks. And
you didn't answer my question. So,
sorry.
Will you be able to? So, if someone has an affordable unit, they have access to a micro unit, to a larger unit, to a townhome. So that they're, what I mean by, so that it's really truly equity and not just, oh, we're going to give these guys these units because
Sure.
it's more attracted to my bottom line.
Sure. Understood the question clearly. Yes, it'll be spread out throughout the building and or townhomes.
Okay. One thing that really bothers me is in this city, we always focus on our postage stamp, the area of influence of our project. I think there's a big missed opportunity here with regard to what could happen. Let's just call it a node with the clinic parking lot. You have the Togo, you have a church across the street. It would have been really interesting to see if something could have happened to create a nice little district or a node there. That takes time, that takes intentionality, that takes will, but we need to do more collaboration in the city because that's the only way we're going to become a city of choice, in my personal opinion. And lastly, and more importantly, I would ask that the applicant focus on others other than Pinckney and Stokes. If you know the history of Cedar, and I'm not talking about the physical history, I'm talking about attorneys and accountants and doctors and all types of shops that were lined of people who are still in business. Boyd's Funeral Home. There's Mill Ties Nursing Home. There's lots of people who actually started their businesses in their third and fourth generation business. I hope that you pay homage to those folks who actually built Cedar to where it was, obviously, and hopefully where it can be. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Commission members, any other comments? Questions?
Madam Chair, I do have a comment. I have to agree with Commissioner Fluker. I teach a course at Cleveland State University called Cleveland, the African American Experience, Past, Present, and Future. And you really have to understand the dynamics here that we're talking about. I can't understand why we can renovate buildings at a much larger cost, and we cannot find a way to save those townhouses, number one. And number two, the historical aspects of Cedar Avenue, as Commissioner Fluker just stated, is very important. We cannot lose sight of that, particularly in African American community. You had, not so long ago, back in the 70s, then the businesses started to leave, but we had dentists, our own doctors, eye doctors, ophthalmologists, attorneys. So the historical aspect of Cedar Avenue is very, very important. We cannot overlook that. And I hope they remember that when they're building these new projects, that they take into account the historical value of each and every community that they come into. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commission members? Okay. I think we need a motion from the table.
Move approval of the first item, the demolition.
Okay, yeah, thank you, actually, Councilman. I forgot, we should start with the first item, the demolition. So this is a motion for the first item, which is the demolition. Do I have a second? Okay, it does not appear that we have a second. I cannot make a motion or second, so just gonna wait. And then I'm gonna ask then that this motion does not have a second, so it cannot continue. I'm gonna either need a motion then to table or a second motion to deny. We need some kind of action from the committee here. And I'll ask Joyce if there's any thoughts from the administration as well.
Sure. I would be happy to provide some comments on what we've all been weighing. You know, between Landmarks and the Planning Commission, you know, what we see here is a townhome that has significant architectural features and structural integrity. I think it is floating in a sea of vacant land and has, you know, to the point of the physical context, lost its context. I think that, you know, I don't see this as a nuisance demo. I think this is, you know, this demolition would be, you know, we are purposely taking this down to accommodate new construction. And I think that on the other hand, if we're weighing the new construction, it would add significant density with infrastructure improvements, a fairly radical parking ratio for Cleveland, the addition of townhomes of Cedar is an improvement, especially with the Meyer and the Innovation Square construction underway. So the unit mix. I personally am not a fan of the micro unit proliferation of, you know, sort of 400 square foot furnished micro units. I think from a physical planning standpoint, it makes sense here, given its proximity to Case and the clinic. And ultimately, it comes down to this question of, you know, if we are to rehab the townhomes, there's potential for, you know, recreating what could have been the fabric that existed 50 to 60 years ago. However, you know, do you kind of risk losing this dense new construction to integrate a rehab into the site plan? And so I think in terms of weighing the costs and the benefits, and apologies for sort of my processing here, it's just a consideration regarding the number of people that would help create more walkability, given that this townhome has lost its context and the surrounding context. It's a difficult one. I think that, you know, from a big picture perspective, you know, think that we need to do better as a city with regard to code enforcement and making sure that we preserve our naturally occurring affordable housing that is these types of historic structures. I have questions about that. However, I think given what is proposed and the goals of creating more walkability and density, a better streetscape, I think that's worth consideration. And just to speak on behalf of Landmarks staff, that Landmarks would recommend documentation and a salvage plan if the demo is approved.
Well, so we're in a position right now where we don't have a motion for demolition, but I do need a motion of some kind, either to table this again for further discussion, or a motion to deny. So to my commission members, I will need a motion from someone.
Madam Chair, quick question. The design proposal, is that for schematic approval?
Well, I saw on here that the demolition was for final, correct? And the design was final, I believe. Can I see it again? Go up one.
I believe it's a schematic.
Design was conceptual.
Conceptual or schematic?
Well,
Schematic, sorry.
Yeah,
Schematic, okay.
we got a schematic approval from local design review, Lillian, so we were gonna go back for final.
Okay.
Approval from design review, and we would come back to you all for final.
Right. Okay. To the applicants, I have a question. Will you move forward without the demolition?
Well, but, you know, I maybe we weren't clear enough on our presentation. If we were to try and keep the building there, it would, if you go, I don't know if you can go back to the site plan, it actually engages with the south wing of the new building. Currently, the way that building is sited, the existing building. So it would mean that the new building would have to be modified. And I don't know what that means. It would have to be shortened or made taller. If we want to keep the same number of units, there's the whole issue of the fire lane, which we will, I don't have a pointer here. I can't do that. But Maurice, can you point? There's a dashed line on the site plan along Cedar, a heavy dashed line that shows the outline of the townhomes. Right there. Well, you can see that heavy dashed line. Well, no, not there.
No, I can see it. Yep, I can see the dashed line. It just a little, it sits where the corner of the building is. There you go. Yeah.
Yes, and it goes across our Cedar Avenue curb cut, and it goes about halfway, down Cedar towards 107th and stops, right? That's where the townhome stops. So what we have to,
yeah. You can't, it sits on the, one of the end unit is actually on the end of the building you're proposing. I can see it.
Right. And then we'd have to put in a fire lane, and we'd have to, it would probably take away at least a third of our parking. It would, create this sort of odd juxtaposition of the buildings next to each other. It would compromise the design of the project overall, I think, and it would really reduce our parking count, and we still have to figure out what to do with the fire department. I think we could probably figure something out with the fire department, but it's just going to eat up more of the site that's remaining for parking.
Okay. All right, Commissioner members.
Madam Chair,
yep.
I'm going to move to table this again. I still have a lot of concerns and disappointment about this project, so.
Second.
We have a motion to table. Any other comment?
I just think there are a lot of aspects that still need to really be seriously studied. And so I can only get as far as making a motion to table.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Can you call the roll, Michael?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
No.
No. So the motion carries, but I think we need to also table the second one so that we can also see these back together. And we're happy to put you on the agenda next 2 weeks. So commission members can have a motion for the second item for the new construction.
I move to table.
Second. May I offer something? You know what? I think what's bothering, I can't speak for everyone, but what's bothering me is, had we not questioned any of this, would you have gone to your partner, your neighbor, Fairfax? Would you have done any of these things? And that's what bothers me, you know. And we have to be more serious about community benefit on projects. Period. And you know, if we continue to set this precedent, then what will be left will be hardly anything recognizable in Black and brown communities. And so that's, you know, I just feel bad. And you know, and you've owned this property for how many years? It's in a state of disrepair. I'm not allowed to do that as a single property owner. I replaced my roof and windows last year. That's what you do. You maintain stuff. So it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we go ahead and call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Okay, motion carries.
Madam
next-
Chair, can I just request, the last time it was tabled, there was some specific requests about next steps needed in terms of, you know, site visit and specific requests for more information. So could we ask for that again here with this tabling?
Just in the interest of time, I'm going to ask that you work with the director and the staff.
Okay.
Just because it's not clear. So what I would say is that work with Director Wong, and she'll work with you, and she can also kind of keep us abreast. So,
but might I add, please do not come back and tell me there's ADA issues, because this is existing condition and FHA doesn't apply. I don't want to put on my code hat. So, you know, and you're building an apartment building that has accessibility. So I don't want to get into that dialogue. Thank you.
okay, we're going to move on. We have still items.
One question, please, Lillian.
Yeah.
Can you tell me why there's such a big disconnect between local design review and this commission? We were.
Excuse me. The item we have voted, and it is, please work with the staff and the director. We need to move on. Next item. The next item is Near West Design Review. This is Metro Health Campus Transformation seeking final approval. We saw this 2 weeks ago. This is 2500 Metro Health at Metro Health Drive. And it says here that at local there was not a quorum. I think we should still hear this. Yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, yeah, we have Joyce, Director Wong has her hand raised.
Okay. Do you want me to swear them in first?
Go ahead.
Okay. So anyone who's here to speak to this item, I have Walter on the list, but anyone else, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this hearing, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do. This is Walter Jones. Yes.
Greg Zuka, yes.
Okay.
Sabatini, yes.
Lottie Smith, yes.
Okay. Director Wong, thank you.
Sure. So last Wednesday, the meeting ran long and the design review committee was lost quorum by the end of the presentation. However, staff member Matt Moss, who currently is out of the country, said, you know, you can go ahead and move on to Planning Commission. And so Greg, Walter, and Metro Health team will be presenting, again, campus transformation update to their plan. They do not belong in a design review district, but due to their institutional research zoning, it is required for them to present a master plan to the commission. And in particular, this is regarding the park. And so with that, Greg, if you could take it away. There were specific requests from the commission the last meeting regarding circulation, pedestrian connection, bus rider connection, what is the auto circulation? So if the applicants could please address that would be great. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Greg Zuka. I am the Director of Economic and Community Development for the Metro Health System. And I'm going to go through, as Director Wong had said, some of the flows through the campus, as well as present the final design for approval of the 3-acre green space park that we hope to construct before, that we intend to complete before the end of this year. So if you go to the next slide. I'm gonna, just for the interest of time, go a little bit quicker here. Next slide. Just a brief, a district level view of the campus and where it resides. It borders the Clark, Fulton, and Brooklyn Center neighborhoods, bounded by the I-71 interchange. So stop right here. So this is the site context map that really gives a sense of what the current condition is. And what we're hoping to do ultimately is we have a surface parking lot that has about 250 parking spaces. And really the effort is to create a pedestrian pathway and access between West 25th, Scranton, and the new Glick Center. Currently, in this area highlighted, there are no sidewalks that connect between West 25th and Scranton. So this creates problems for pedestrians as well as those that are riding public transit. Next slide. Next slide. So again, here is another site of the current condition. Currently under construction is the Metro Health Glick Center that is due to open in the fall of this year, October. And again, our hope is that the surface parking lot that you see there will be included as part of creating some green space for activity for the community and the broader neighborhood. Next slide. This is just kind of the site plan. Previously at the last commission meeting, we had 2 buildings that were approved for demolition. And so this is the overall site that we are addressing today. Next slide. So I'm going to go through the features of what this green space is, and then I will go and speak to the context of this green space in the larger campus area. But essentially what you see here is for just a comparison purposes, really trying to create a green space that can be activated this year that would be in somewhat akin to Lincoln Park in Tremont. So a park that is primarily composed of pathways, walkways, benches, picnic areas, seating areas, as well as a central focal point, which would be a preservation of the steeple from one of the buildings that we will be demolishing. The space will also include new plantings. In the back end of this presentation is some spec sheets on what those plantings and trees will be. We're also going to be doing some screening work around a Cleveland Public Power substation and creating, again, spaces for a more inviting waiting environment for public transit, which does not exist. In particular, looking at this, if you look at C, which is on the far top of the page here, currently there is a bus stop there, but it's just a telephone pole with a bus stop sign. There's no sidewalk or platform or anything. So this plan, we will be enhancing those existing public bus stops. You'll see the serpentine pathway that goes through the park. This is connecting some of those bus stops. So where that serpentine path hits West 25th Street, that is where there is an existing RTA bus stop. So that will connect to the future Glick Center and also the future outpatient facility. You go to the next slide. So wanted to give, again, a sense of the overall current condition of access points. So you go to the next slide. At our last presentation, it was brought up by commission members, the concern about accessing the park from a pedestrian standpoint. We completely agree that the current conditions are need enhancements. You go to the next slide. So we are pledging to work with the city of Cleveland to enhance the current right-of-way crosswalks at these intersections. So the first intersection, and all of these intersection and crosswalks are signalized. So it does help to enhance the safety, but we do recognize that the crosswalks themselves need to be enhanced. So we want to work with the city of Cleveland and the planning department and traffic engineering to find ways to look at striping these crosswalks. First of all, right now, the current condition is they're all faded and very hard to determine to see. So we want to redo the striping and enhance them with a zebra striping that will make them more predominant. Next slide. We also want to work with the city as well to look at adding additional crosswalks that would be located on Scranton Road to do a better job of connecting the new buildings that are under construction to the park. Again, trying to utilize existing connection points, crosswalks, curb cuts, as we are building this park for the current condition. As you know, our ultimate plan is to create a 12-acre park. And if you go through a series of slides, you'll see some transitions. If you could stop here. We are currently working with the Land Studio and the Cleveland Metro Parks. We addressed this at our last meeting. We are in the process of releasing a RFP. We're still writing that RFP in collaboration with the community ambassadors that were part of the neighborhood master plan. Also taking some feedback from residents in terms of things that they want to see in the future park, as well as things that they want to see from the preservation of Trinity Church, which we agreed is really an asset to this park. But we also want to look at these major intersections to look for ways to enhance the crosswalks, public right-of-way in the future 12-acre park, which we hope to begin construction on in 2025. So this, again, gives a sense of, in the interim period, looking at enhancing the existing conditions, the existing crosswalks, utilizing existing signals to improve that situation. If you go to the next slide. So this is just, this is identifying what the park materials and furnishings are going to be. Again, we've spoken about repurposing the church steeple on one of the buildings that we are taking down. We are also enhancing bike access and creating bike covered, sheltered bike parking, as well as creating areas for picnicking. Next, and I'm sorry, if you could go back to the slide on the crosswalks. One more, back one more. So the other thing that we are working on too, and this is going to be on this is on the agenda. I think it's the next item. We have been working with the city traffic engineering department to create a new access road for vehicles into the new campus. You could see here faintly is a construction of a roundabout. Again, we're hoping to we're seeking approval for that and begin construction on that roundabout this year, with again completion by the time of the new Glick Center opening. What this does in terms of vehicular movements, it will allow for vehicles to come into the campus and access a new visitor parking garage that is being constructed without having to traverse along West 25th Street or Scranton. So this will help to alleviate and create some traffic calming on both 25th and Scranton to help to enhance the more pedestrian-friendly crossings that we will have there. And as I also indicated too, these pathways are being done to enhance connections primarily for public transit so that individuals getting off the bus on West 25th Street have a clear pathway to come to the new medical facilities. So Walter, I'll hand it over to you to kind of discuss some of the timing and sequencing of these events.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. Just so everybody kind of can put everything in context in terms of where they're coming along, because the items that Greg talked about, particularly in terms of the crosswalks, will likely occur as each component of the overall plan is complete. So the Glick, the hospital that you see that now standing on our property, is scheduled to open for patients October 15th of this year. So that will be the new front door for Metro Health on Scranton. You see that here, and you see the driveway that is currently under construction right now and being completed. That comes off of Scranton Boulevard. As Greg mentioned, there's a large patient and visitor garage that is part of what we call the Apex project. That is our new ambulatory building that will be that is under construction right now, just to the south of the Glick Center and connected to the Glick Center. The garage is scheduled to be completed at the same time. In other words, our patient and visitor garage is intended to be completed by the opening of the Glick Center on October 15th, so that our patient visitors have proximity then to the Glick Center. Our current visitor garage is off of Metro Drive, next to the current towers that everybody recognizes. But as you might imagine, that is not going to be in a convenient location when we open the Glick Center. The park, as Greg indicated, is with approval of this body, is intended to also be completed this year. Not sure it'll make the actual opening date of the Glick Center. That will be determined after we're able to get forward approval, but it'll be very close to that completion, but certainly intended to be completed by the end of the year. And then the other element, the roundabout that he just mentioned, and again with the approval of the body, hopefully in the next session here, is also our goal is to have that completed for day one of the operation of the Glick Center. That's a vital vehicular circulation path to allow for the ease of our patients and visitors now to come to the new front door. As you can tell, it allows for direct access off of the I-71 exit ramp, cross West 25th Street, and then either by continuing on to View Road, that comes off of this page to the lower part of the page into the new garage I just mentioned, and be able to park there, or to drop off in front of the Glick Center on Scranton. So removing all of our traffic effectively through the new hospital off of West 25th Street, bringing it on directly onto Scranton Road, and more directly to the front door of the hospital. So a lot scheduled to happen this year. However, the one element that will happen later, the Apex facility is about 18 months away from completion. So it's scheduled to open for operation in January of 24. So it's got about 18 months worth of construction to complete. And then, as Greg mentioned, the final, once that's done, we can relocate all of the services in our current outpatient pavilion, which exists between West 25th Street and Scranton, between Metro Health Drive and South Point. Once all of those services are moved over to Apex, then that building can be demolished, and that's what makes way for the construction of the large 12-acre park that Greg alluded to, and that completion. So that's the timing for the completion of the elements of the master plan. The final piece of the overall master plan, of course, is once we completely vacate all of the occupants in any part of the existing hospital, then the demolition of that will occur and convert the rest of the campus to the green space. And that will overall give about, convert our 52 acres and make roughly half of it green space in this corner of the Clark Fulton neighborhood for community and for staff use. Greg, anything else there that needed to mention there?
I don't think so. So I guess we'll turn it back to the commission members for any questions.
Okay, so we're voting, this is a final approval on this master plan, is that correct?
And for the park, yes.
And for the park. And you said there's the second item. The second item is the roundabout.
That's correct.
Do you want to, if commission members are okay, is it possible to just go through that really quickly? I know you talked about it and we can see it there, but if you don't mind, I'd rather move quickly through and then do two motions or one conversation. So is there anything additional about the roundabout that you need to say as well?
This is Director Wong. I apologize, Walter. I'll just jump in. The second one is a legislative mandatory referral regarding access to the property. So with that being said, Madam Chair, would you still like to see that?
No, but was staff going to present that? Because we should just vote on that so we don't have to see it again. Can we just go ahead and vote on both if that's okay?
That's fine. I believe Suzanne DeGennaro from Capital Projects is here to present on that.
Okay.
So is she the next?
Is she here, by the way? Because she could.
I'm here. I'm here.
Do you mind speaking to it really fast?
Absolutely. Yes. So the ordinance, I'm not sure if there's an ordinance number assigned to this one or not. Let's see. Oh, yes, it's ordinance 490-2022. My name is Suzanne DeGennaro. I'm the Acting Commissioner of Real Estate in the Office of Capital Projects, and I'm going to tell you a tale of two standard highway easements in connection with the construction of the roundabout at the southerly portion of Metro Health's campus. The legislation would authorize the Director of Capital Projects to accept from Metro Health this two standard highway easements for public roadway improvements which encroach on Metro Health System property. The easements are approximately 1/3 of an acre to the west of the roundabout and approximately a 1/2 an acre to the east. And that is basically the standard highway easements.
Okay, thank you very much. So commission members, any questions, comments, discussion on the master plan, the green space, and or the ordinance for mandatory referral?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to compliment the Metro Health for considering how they calm traffic along Scranton. I think their roundabout's going to be a great influencer in doing that, and consideration to the additional crosswalks would obviously have to be worked out with traffic, but I'm sure there's a path that they've created. Thank you.
Yeah, agree. I hope the city might consider, as they work in collaboration, to think about really the colorations of these crosswalks and some creativity just in terms of that. It really could be exciting to think. I like that you guys are suggesting where those large crosswalks are, but I think they can be more than just yellow painted lines and even in a kind of a pilot form. So I'm going to encourage the administration to really work with you and support you guys in that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval for the site plan for the park.
Okay.
Fluker.
Motion and a second. This is for the site plan, the master plan, its final approval. Any other
Can there be a
comments?
quick discussion on that motion?
Sure.
Is it, could we include, Maurice, are you able to scroll back to that site plan? I know we're asking you to jump around.
Are you going to the park site plan?
The park site, yeah. I'm a little worried with the path coming out onto 25th. No one's gonna walk over to the crosswalk that was being proposed, and the path, this is the bottom left, is a little offset from Daisy Avenue. I'm wondering if we can explore that path going closer to Daisy Avenue and a crosswalk there. Just because everyone's going to jaywalk here. There's people turning off of the interstate, and it just looks like an opportunity for a crash. So just I think that could mitigate the issue.
Yeah, I think I can add something to that might help. It was one of on the previous slide of the park. One of the items that was omitted. Where that path is on the southern end on West 25th Street actually aligns with the 3rd RTA bus station. So as Greg pointed out, all the RTA stations right now or bus stops on West 25th and South Point are simply flags on telephone poles. We're placing then pads for bus shelters at each of those 3 stations. The one on the south then aligns with the other RTA station that's on West 25th right now. So that's the reason for its alignment. There's currently no crosswalk on Daisy, which we have not challenged in terms of the city's sense of where safe access and crossing needs to be, and there's no signal on Daisy either. So that's quite a challenging intersection, just driving by it every day, even to try and make a turn out of Daisy because of sightline. So, and our understanding, while we were looking at the intersection on I-71, at one point we looked at some other crossing driveways in earlier iterations of our plan. And one of the things that came up is that signalizing that intersection at Daisy was a little too close to where it was at 71. So it's not likely that could be very safe from our indications from what we got to do a pedestrian crossing.
And Councilman, just one more thing. So I agree that like in standard planning, you would want it to align with Daisy so that crossing could be done. But we don't want, as Walter was saying, we don't want to encourage that because there is no signal there and there is no crosswalk currently there. So offsetting it from Daisy and connecting to the bus station is really the intent of that path right there. But as we said, in the future for the 12-acre park, we want to really study what Daisy and West 25th Street is. We know from many of the residents that live on Daisy, they have a lot of concerns of traffic, as do we. A lot of concerns on how that whole intersection is designed.
My request to those who made the motion would be adding on some degree of staff working with traffic engineering, working with RTA to determine, can we add a crosswalk there? Can that stop be moved to the next telephone pole? I understand the logic, but I think that this is assuming that people adhere to crosswalks and don't take the path of least resistance, and it's dangerous.
Agreed.
Absolutely. And to your point, Councilman, that is something that we should continue to look at, especially as RTA undergoes their 25 Connect study, which will have 3 stops along this, this area right here. So we will take that into consideration.
Are you okay adding that to the motion?
I am.
Okay. So, and a second, are you okay seconding that? And this is an addition to work collaboratively with the city and traffic engineering to really study that intersection at Daisy.
Yes.
Who made okay, thank you. All right, Michael, call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so the legislation, I need a motion about the right of way around the roundabout. Can I have a motion for the mandatory referral?
I move to approve.
Second, Fluker.
Can you call the roll, Michael?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries, and thank you to Metro Health really for working with us and the community and continuing to listen and make improvements. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, appreciate it.
So we have some additional mandatory referrals, which will be presented by staff. This first one is ordinance 496-2022. This is authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee. So I might need some help with this. Is for state funding for the rehabilitation of portions of Payne Avenue. So this is to apply and accept grants for these improvements. Rick?
Yes, good morning. Yeah, good morning. Yeah, this is Eva Vargas with Engineering and Construction. And this morning I'm presenting on behalf of Rick.
Okay.
Rick, yeah, so, yeah, but Payne Avenue is a project that's where we're going to be improving the pavement condition from East 13th to East 30th. Later on, we'll be working on the piece from East 30th to East 55th, but right now we're just focusing on this first section. The design cost estimate is roughly $600,000. Construction cost estimate roughly $6 million. And we intend to use road and bridge bonds supplemented with public utility funds, which because the project will also include a water line replacement and the Ohio Public Works Commission funding. So overall, we're going to be taking care of the pavement, base repairs, doing the ADA compliant curb ramps, and we plan to incorporate a road diet. Right now, the road loosely carries 4 lanes of traffic. It has some parking, but we want to define a road diet where we would have 1 lane of traffic in each direction and provide bike lanes along there. And we also want to enhance some of the intersections by adding painted curb extensions and some decorative crosswalks. Next slide, please. We intend to start design in August, have it ready for construction by the end of next year so that construction can begin in February of 2024. As I mentioned, we do want to include bike lanes all the way through, and this will be extended when we do the next phase of Payne Avenue also. There will be high visibility crosswalks at some of the key locations, and we're working with urban forestry to see if we can enhance the existing trees. Next slide, please. And this just shows the location. In black is the portion that we're working on right now, which goes from East 30th to East 13th. And later on, we'll be working on the portion that goes further east.
Okay. Thank you.
We have Director Wong with her hand raised.
Okay.
Right, I just wanted to add a comment that this is related to the People's Streets project that you saw earlier this year, or maybe last year. And just want to thank the collaboration between the city's residents, as you know, between departments, planning, engineering, construction for this road diet with amazing amenity and elements. So thank you, Eva. Thank you, everybody.
I was going to comment that I've been on the commission a really long time, and I'm so happy to hear road diet, crosswalks, bike lanes in a repaving situation. So I can't tell you how happy this makes me. I wish I could make the motion because it would be with accommodation. So please, councilman, make that motion.
I'm so moved to move approval with accommodation on behalf of the chair.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. And any other comments or questions?
Yes, I learned a new term, road diet.
Road diet. Have you heard that term before? That's
No.
a thing. Yeah. It's not just a thing, it's an attitude. So I hope this is the attitude that starts to permeate through everything we see. It's pretty cool. So, okay, let's call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
The motion carries. I also really want to thank Midtown and the CDC. I know there's been a lot of work around Asia Town and over there that has led to this. So it also takes the community working with the city on this. So thank you. Ordinance 498-2022. This is also a mandatory referral giving consent to the city of Cleveland to the Director of Transportation of the state of Ohio for resurfacing a portion of Euclid Avenue. So I assume since Rick's not here, Eva, you're going to speak to this?
Yes, that's correct. I'll be speaking to this one as well. So Euclid Avenue is part of a U.S. route, and ODOT is providing funding for doing a resurfacing. And also they're doing, this is a piece of Euclid that goes from Ivanhoe to Upper Valley Drive, which is on the east side is City of Euclid, on the west side is City of East Cleveland. So it's kind of and ODOT is looking at the whole corridor. So they've been providing funding for each city to resurface the section within their city limits. The construction cost estimate for this is $2.3 million, and it will be, mostly ODOT urban paving funds supplemented with the city road and bridge funds. The focus is going to be mostly on base repairs, just a typical, mill and fill project. We have been talking with City of East Cleveland and City of Euclid to see what they intend to do as far as final pavement marking in their sections, and they're going to keep things pretty much how they are. So we intend to do the same in our section. There is a TLCI project that's underway. It hasn't been finished yet, but we've been talking with planning a little bit to make sure that we can accommodate some of the recommendations, which would include additional crosswalks at certain locations. And also we're going to be addressing some very challenging situations for ADA access at the intersections. One of the sides of Euclid Avenue is on a pretty significant hill, and there's actually sidewalks on 2 levels. And there's bus stops on the lower level, but sometimes the bus stop sits on the shelter is at the higher level. So we'll be working through those things and make things better for ADA. Next slide, please. Yeah, we intend to start design. Well, we've actually started design on this, but we'll be advertising for bids. Yeah, that I'm just looking at pausing with the February 22 date. That doesn't look right, but we will be advertising for bids and award later this year, and with the hope of starting construction in October of 2023. Euclid Avenue is currently not on any bike corridor, so we went through that to see what would be appropriate at this point. As I mentioned, at the moment, we are aware of the TLCI that's under work, and we'll be working to accommodate what we can within the intent of the project, which is really to, mill and resurface. Next slide, please. And this just shows in black is the city limit. The project limits. To the east is City of Euclid. To the west is City of East Cleveland. And that's all I have for Euclid.
Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
Second, McCray Scott.
Motion and a second. Any other comment before we call the roll? All right, Michael, please call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next slide, or next item, sorry. This is an additional mandatory referral This is 4952022. This once again is for capital projects to apply for District 1 Public Works Integrating Committee for state funding for a portion of Carnegie Avenue.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and again, I'll be presenting for Rick. And Carnegie Avenue, this is again a first phase for Carnegie Avenue. We intend to work next on the section of Carnegie that goes from East 79th to University Circle, and then on the section that goes from East 55th to downtown. So this is the first of 3 phases, East 55th to East 79th. Design cost estimate is roughly $650,000. Construction cost estimate about $7 million, and it will be all funded through the city road and bridge bonds, and also with funding from the Ohio Public Works Commission. It's again mostly mill and fill. We're going to be doing the typical base repairs, and there will be some changes in pavement marking, because we do want to do a type of road diet. Not enough. There's no intent to get bike lanes in this. It's not one of the designated corridors for bike because of the heavy traffic on it. But we do want to do a better job of delineating the center lane for turns and making sure that we streamline traffic a little bit better. There's a TLCI that was recently completed for Carnegie Avenue, and we've been working with both planning and Midtown to make sure that we can implement some of those recommendations, which include some median crossing islands and also some enhancements at some of the intersections. We're also, even though there's no bike lanes designated for Carnegie, there is a section of this section of Carnegie where there's a desire to have a shared use path that would somehow connect to the East 66th Street shared use path that right now this plan for the East 66th project north of Euclid, and connect to other paths further south. But since the city's still going to be working on the active transportation plan, we don't know exactly where that link will be. But we do intend to include what we can as part of the Carnegie Avenue project. Next slide, please. We intend to start design later this year so that we can start construction in February of 2024. And as I mentioned, there's no intent of dedicated facilities for bicyclists except for the portion that we do for the shared use path. And that would be most likely along the south sidewalk area. But it would be, marked differently than the sidewalk to make sure that its intent as a shared use path is clear. And next slide, please. So this is the location from East 55th to East 79th. And later on, we'll be doing the portion further east, which is East 79th to University Circle. The portions further west will be coordinating with timing, for the work that's going on for the inner belt. And that's all I have for that.
Thank you. Commission members?
Move approval. Downing.
We have a motion. August, you want a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Michael, call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair, I just want to say, my grandfather worked for traffic engineering in the 40s and 50s, and family lore is that it was his idea to do the X and arrow boxes on Carnegie.
Wow.
So if we could just bring those back, I'm in favor. So,
Remember that?
everyone hated them except for us, right?
Anyway, but by the way, I love the new way you're presenting these. I love the emphasis on where you're being focusing the dollars, pedestrian, bikes, etc. So thank you to engineering and construction. I like the change.
Thank you. I'll let Rick know. Thank you. It's appreciated. Yeah.
Okay. Mandatory referrals. This is unnumbered. This is authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter in one or more agreements with the Cuyahoga County Land Reutilization Corporation to apply and expend Ohio DOD building demolition, site renovation reimbursement grant funds. This is for JFK Recreational Center at 17300 Harvard Avenue. Susan or Suzanne, you're here to speak to this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, and as you stated, the Director of Public Works is looking to enter into several agreements, one with the County Land Bank as the lead agency in the application for the grant. And as you stated, this is a building demolition and site revitalization grant through Ohio Department of Development to assist with the demolition of the JFK Rec Center, which is on the campus of John F. Kennedy High School. Former John F. Kennedy High School, I should say, at 17300 Harvard Avenue. If awarded, the county will apply as lead. The city will be the subrecipient of the grant. And in addition, under this legislation, the Director of Public Works is seeking to enter into an agreement with CMSD to use the grant funds for the demolition. The scope of work includes asbestos abatement, demolition, site restoration, drawings, and environmental. This is in Ward 1. And I also wanted to note that the city built the new Frederick Douglass Recreation Center in Ward 1 in 2021 last year to replace the former JFK Rec Center at this location. Thank you.
Quick question. Do you know what they're going to do with the actual site?
You mean where the rec center is currently located?
Yeah.
They're planning to, the school district will build bleachers, new bleachers. From what I understand, the bleachers sit atop the rec center currently. And so once everything's demolished and the site is remediated, there'll be new bleachers constructed for the football field.
Okay. And the rest of the site just becomes parking?
I'm not sure if there's enough room for parking at that location. If you look in the blue box there at the center of the screen, that's basically the extent
Oh, I see.
the remediation. Yes, so it's just a bleacher area.
Got it. Got it. Okay, makes sense. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
Second, McCray Scott.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Okay, Michael, call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. This is
Thank you.
ordinance you're welcome. Thank you. 512022. This is authorizing the Director of Capital Projects and Planning to develop guidelines and authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to issue permits for temporary program for public parking lots, streets, and other right-of-ways. This is for parklets, outdoor restaurants, and/or outdoor restaurant seating. Tom Sterinsky?
This is Director Huang. Actually, Drew Sarabian from our team from planning will present along with Drew Sargent from Kluman Neighborhood Progress. I may not have sent Tom the links. I apologize, Tom, if you're watching now, but he has been intimately involved in this.
And I'm going to ask, we have half an hour, so we really do need to move fast. We are going to lose a quorum at noon, so we're going to need to move a little bit quicker. So please.
I'll keep it really brief. I just want to give you some context. I think it's relevant to some public space changes that'll be coming going forward. So, but we'll keep it brief. This is basically a revival of the ordinance 461/2020 that allowed for these what are called expansion areas in response to the pandemic, really changing our lives. This includes these non-traditional spaces like parklets, which are in these outdoor areas, repurposed on-street parking space. This ordinance coming today to you is very similar to that temporary program. It has some more upfront language about ADA access and protecting the sidewalk paths. This is still intended as a temporary program, but as stated in the ordinance, there's going to be a permanent program studied by Capital Projects, Planning, Public Works, and other departments to be established by spring of 2023. And at that time, we see potential for some context-sensitive guidelines for spaces that don't need concrete barriers, like what you're seeing here. They could be a little more attractive and customizable. So that's looking forward. And in the meantime, our community development corporation network in the city and Cleveland Neighborhood Progress has been developing a kind of parklet kit, which is what you're looking at here. And I'm going to let Andrew Sargent from, he's the Rose Fellow landscape architect at Cleveland Neighborhood Progress, just show you how this kit works. It kind of changes in the look and function of these parklets into more of a street amenity, which is something, a direction we like to see this going. So just really quickly, go ahead, Drew.
Thanks, Drew, for the introduction. The main purpose of kind of this kit of parks was to, one, mitigate kind of the aesthetic appearance of the Jersey barriers, as they're not too pleasant to look at, but then also kind of give restaurant owners and business owners an ease of actually getting their permits approved by working with the planning department and kind of creating a kit of parks that were previously discussed and already had kind of the thumbs up. So generally speaking, we try to keep this kit of parts customizable. It comes with 5 things. Generally, the platform is going to be necessary in all kind of implementations, but there are 4 attachments to the Jersey barriers, one including a planter, one including a screen, one including a canopy, and one including customizable signage for the business owners. The hope is that once the ordinance is approved, Cleveland Neighborhood Progress will be working to create a prototype along with downtown Cleveland to kind of display the parklet, but then also working with the business owners in our economic development working group to have parklets in a number of neighborhoods to kind of kick off the awareness of this kind of program.
And that's our whole presentation.
Okay, thank you. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
Motion and a second. I think this is great, my opinion. So thank you for this. Great. Michael, call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
I think that was a yes. A motion carries. Ordinance 502-2022, authorizing the Commissioner of Purchases and Supplies to sell certain city-owned property not needed at 9103 Buckeye Road to Maselli's. And Suzanne, you're here again?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. The property that will be sold to Maselli Dairy is located at 9103 Buckeye. It's near Maselli's existing campus, and Maselli's plans to expand their business, their cheese manufacturing business. The property is it's owned by Cleveland Public Power. It was to be used for the Southside Service Center, but the plan never materialized. The property is comprised of 2 parcels. One is a 1.42 acre parcel with a 24,700 square foot warehouse building. And the other is a contiguous smaller vacant parcel, about 4,230 square feet. Maselli's plans to renovate the building and use it for dry goods warehouse, maintenance and fabrication shop, and offices for staff. They've agreed to install exterior lighting and signage, which is to be determined to dress up the facade along Buckeye Road. And this helps them to achieve their goal of a state-of-the-art campus on Opportunity Corridor to provide additional jobs. They're working with Economic Development on financing, and this is located in Ward 4. Thank you.
Commission members?
Move approval. Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Motion and a second. Michael, if there's no comments, we'll call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Motion carries. Thank you all. Thanks for all the legislation. It was good today. Question to the director. Are there any other items that require a vote before you do the year-end update on the public art program? I just don't want anyone to not get their permits that they need, or is this
Right. There are 3 projects, public art projects, that will require votes. So Maurice, if you could go to the next agenda item, that would be extremely helpful.
We should be able to get all these in, including the public art program, but I just want to be sure.
Yeah, and you know, Vince, I would encourage you to fly through this. I know there are many slides.
Yes, thanks everyone. We'll go quickly through this. I know there are 68 slides, but we will go through it in just a few minutes. And I'm going to go back and forth with Susie Underwood, who's also here. And this is a project with various funders and various partners, including
Oh, wow. By the way, it just reminds me, we have Cleveland Foundation has some funding into this project through Creative Fusion. So if August, if you don't mind, if you could share.
Certainly.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, so Land Studio, Metro West, and Metro Health are the main partners, and as Madam Chair suggested, we have funding through Cleveland Foundation, through Metro Health Systems, and the National Endowment for the Arts. Of the next slide, you could go to, please. This is just a map showing the various locations for different artworks throughout the neighborhood. Some we have final designs for, and others we don't. The next slide. Turn this over to Susie. This is one of the projects at Strike Force Taekwondo on, this is actually on Fulton. And so Susie, I'll turn it over to you for this one.
Thanks, Vince. So this one is a Taekwondo studio on Fulton. Oh, sorry, it says West 25th Street. That must have just be from another slide accidentally. It's on Fulton, just down the street from Metro West. Here's some shots just of the building. It's going to be the south facing wall that faces Fulton Road. It's kind of a triangular building, so both long sides of it face Fulton from different angles. And then here is some prior work by the artist who's commissioned for the job, Donald Wells. And then you can go to the next slide, is just his rough sketch of the design, which is based on conversations we had with the business owner, Jose, just about the community that they serve, but it's also something that's not specific to the business. So if it were to change hands, it's, just more about the kind of themes around community. And then he included the color palette that he would like to use as well. And we primed in a dark gray, well, kind of a medium gray, I guess, behind the full color design that is going on this wall. And I guess that's it for that one. We can keep going.
Commission members, any comments?
There's more murals, Mr. Vice Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
misunderstood. So this is one vote?
This is one vote for multiple murals. It's a mural program. That's
We'll
all.
say
All right.
the karate picture was very cute. That was accurate.
That's good.
Oh, please proceed. I'm sorry.
Okay, then just cover Coney Island Custard. This is a small ice cream stand that's open seasonally on Fulton Road also. And we're a local artist who goes professionally by Higo, has a design that was approved by Near West Design Review, and would be on the side of the building. Possibly later there'll be some other artwork on that wall, but we're not sure at this point. You go to the next slide. Just some other views of the building. You go to the next slide. This is some previous work by Higo, and if you keep going, this is what's actually proposed for the building. Sort of a bumblebee theme. I think we'll brighten it up. We could go to the next project after this then. This is the old Masonic building, and again, this will be Susie speaking on this one.
All right, so you might have seen this one go through with the developer Costa, who's renovating this building into a mixed use, businesses on the bottom, and then condos or apartments on the top 2 floors. This wall is the wall that we're proposing for a heat applied vinyl mural applied by West Camp by Augusto Bordelois. And here's some just images of some the looks of the vinyl, heat applied vinyl, which you probably are all familiar with. So you can go ahead. And just some context shots of the buildings. You can kind of see how it lies in the neighborhood. Here's some of Augusto's previous work for reference. You can go ahead. And some of his public artwork that tends to be a little brighter and more cheerful than some of his more serious fine artwork. You can go ahead. Ta-da-ta-da. Some more context shots. Go ahead. Sorry, that was all like landmarks. Really wanted a lot of context shots. So you can keep going. And then this is just how it will fit on the building with the kind of a framed out area on the brick. And this was the initial sketch, but we have a full color version now. This again shows kind of the framed out way it'll fit onto the building. And then this is the final design in full color that was approved by Near West. Okay.
And the next one, this one, we can go through this one really quickly. This is for, essentially it'll be temporary. This is where artwork will be on the Metro Health outpatient, which we think will be demolished, I think, in the summer of 2024. Just so it was facing east and north. These are some previous works by artist Lisa Quine. Next slide, please. This is the artwork that's proposed. So one wall will be in English, the other will be in Spanish. Next, please. This gives this kind of a mock-up of what it will look like when it's completed. And this will be painted onto the building. Next, we'll go to Elk and Elk, and Susie, I think you'd be best to talk about this one.
Sure. So these were initially images that were part of the Signs of the Times Creative Fusion project that were made into yard signs that we distributed throughout the neighborhood. We'll be printing a few more of these designs that we're proposing for the murals, but they're just going to be enlarged and printed as heat applied vinyl murals. This one on Elk and Elk. So this shows the wall here that we're proposing it will fit onto. Here is the design as a yard sign by Alicia Vasquez. You can go ahead. And here is the kind of showing how the size and where it will fit onto the wall. It's right across from Metro Health, so that design fits really nicely into that part of the neighborhood on West 25th Street. And then we also have another Signs of the Times yard sign design that we're proposing go onto the building right there on Clark and West 25th Street that houses Esperanza and Hispanic Business Center and a U.S. Bank. And per the suggestions of design review, we had initially been thinking maybe we can move the Esperanza sign up and put it right below that, but they didn't like the idea of moving the Esperanza sign. So, and they wanted it to be more pedestrian friendly because that is a really busy parking lot there. So, we are proposing that it be applied, be a little larger than we initially said, and then lower, which I think on some of these, yeah, you can see it will, let's see. So this is kind of, I think, right where we.
Yeah, I think it actually would go lower than that.
Lower than that, yeah.
Yeah, because design review wanted it to be more visible to pedestrians who not only will be walking by on the street, but also, there's a lot of pedestrian activity near the parking lot there as well.
Yeah, so this one was approved, yeah, with the suggestion that it be lower than the one that's even a little lower than this image we're looking at here. So if, yeah, a little lower than this one, and then we would have a plaque, at street level. And so if you have any suggestions at the end on that height and size for that one, we can take that into consideration too. And then, okay, I can speak on this one as well too. So this building is on West 25th Street and Walton Avenue. So just a little bit south of where the new Pivot Center is, Zubel Books. And here's the artist Natalie Lanise, some of her kind of signature work. She's known for these like chevron designs, but she's branching out into some different styles, still kind of abstract Let's see. Oh, did we not get, we don't have the, never mind. Yeah, so we should skip this one. This one, we still need to go through near west design review for both of these. So skip through Dickey Lanes too. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
see.
doing those next week with near west. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Then also,
oh,
I
we
think
can't.
Yamaya Pool, we just got a concept today from the artist, so we'll be moving forward with that in the future
Okay,
also.
yeah. So skip Meyer Pool. Sorry, I didn't realize these were all still in there. Doo-doo.
I think that's about,
Is that? There's a lot in
I think
there.
it just shows the, okay,
Okay,
that's it.
that's it. Yeah, so don't worry about any of those. You'll see them again soon.
So is that it?
I
That's
think
it.
that's it. Yeah.
Thanks. Awesome mural. Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
I second McCray Scott.
Michael, please call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have two more, right? Two more public art projects. Let's do those.
Correct. I'll turn it over to Tara, who will help shepherd these through.
Okay, this is 2500 Wood Hill Road, Wear the Mask, permanent mural. Tara? Or-
Thank you. This is Tara Petras, Public Art Coordinator in the Department of City Planning. This project is a permanent installation in the same realm that the temporary installation occurred back in the summer at 55th near Euclid Avenue. Allison Henney of Graffiti Heart is going to go through the presentation. I just want to note that this was approved. I'm sorry, this one isn't in a design review district. I do support this mural. The location is a location that the city was hoping to get a public art installation on quite a while ago. And I'm sorry, this did get approved by East Design Review back on May 10th. So I am going to turn it over to Allison. Thank you.
And Tara, before Allison begins, I see that the Cleveland Foundation did fund this. So Lillian, you may need to recuse yourself.
Yes, thank you for noticing that. I will recuse myself and August.
Yes. Please continue.
Hello to the commission. I'm Allison Henney with Graffiti Heart, here to present the We Wear the Mask mural. This is part of a larger initiative being implemented by Healthy Neighborhoods in partnership with Graffiti Heart. We are currently serving as the fiscal agent and project manager for the mural itself. We have a team of additional stakeholders that we've been working with, and as was pointed out, we've received grant funding from the Cleveland Foundation, St. Luke's, and an NEA grant. The installation will coincide with a culminating event on June 18th at the Morningstar Baptist Church. To give some contextual background, We Wear the Mask is not the literal mask that people are wearing during COVID. It is a figurative mask, what it means to be a Black person living in a white society and having to conform. So the We Wear the Mask mural is more about the unmasking and presenting your true self. Here's an image of the temporary mural that Tara had mentioned that was funded through St. Luke's. And a goal for the final mural was to maintain the same artist Stina Alea, and the concept. Next slide. So we went through multiple stakeholder conversations, incorporating the voices from Buckeye Woodhill into the mural design itself. And here you can see one of the flyers for that conversation. Additional information can be found at cleve4equity.com. Next slide. The mural itself will be on RTA's central bus maintenance facility at 2500 Woodhill. There's a several 100-foot long wall, and this mural will be installed at the intersection of Mount Carmel and Woodhill. And here are a couple of views, as well as the area that is dedicated for the mural itself, approximately 50 feet by 15 feet. Here are some of the initial concepts, and after receiving a lot of feedback and a lot of community conversations, we landed on this here shown in context. And then there's an enlarged image of the mural itself following. So here you can see Stina and Bob had collaborated on the temporary mural, and their two design aesthetics have really come together nicely to represent what it means for that unmasking. So the forward-facing first female figure is masked. It's very black and white. It shows a straightening of the hair, again, which was a topic discussed with all the community conversations, and then the movement leaning backward and the freeing into the true authentic self with all of the colorful embellishments. We'll be using Loxon paint as the primer on the brick wall, along with additional Sherwin-Williams products and aerosol cans for the installation.
Oh, is that it for this one? We wear the mask?
Yes, that's the only project.
Oh, okay, no, I wanted to make sure you were done. You paused before. Okay.
Thank
Very powerful imagery. I appreciate taking a stab at trying to interpret how Black and brown people might feel. Commission members?
I
I
move
move for
approval.
approval. I second.
Michael, please call the roll.
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I think our last item is the Flats Bike Box murals, or the Bike Box murals. This is seeking final approval. Jim Haviland, if you're here. I do not believe the foundation has funding in this, so it can remain.
Yes, on this one. Great. I think Tara was going to make an introduction here. But,
Okay. Tara, you still on? Good.
Yes, thank you, Jim. This project is a project that's going to span a few different intersections within the Flats overall east and west banks on existing bike boxes to bring some vibrancy and color to boxes that would otherwise blend into the built natural environments. It was approved by the Downtown Flats Design Review on May 19th, yesterday, unanimously. I support this project just because of the nature of it and what it could mean to bikers in the area. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jim. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Tara. And thanks for your help with putting together the application. Madam Chair and the members of the commission, it's my pleasure to be in front of you to present this exciting project. Maurice, I'll appreciate your help. Just a real quick history since we're running out of time. So in 2017, Flats Ford and the Port built 3 bike boxes in the Flats, and these slides will show you where they're located and also the context and of course then the vision. So Maurice, if you go to the first one, this is a bike box at the intersection of Old River Road near Maine, and it's adjacent to the Cleveland Metro Parks. And what you see is the rendering, and this was made possible because in 2020, Flats Ford decided to turn these bike boxes into a public art project. We enlisted the help of Land Studio. They provided a number of artists in their portfolios, and our committees and our board selected Garrett Weeder, a local artist, and he's proposing to use spray paint to beautify these bike boxes. The second, which we just went to, is Main Avenue at Nautica. And again, the land that you see here has been donated by Nautica Entertainment. The other 2 were donated by the Metro Parks. And you can see the vision then for the Nautica bike box. And then the third, if you don't mind, Maurice, would be on Columbus Road between the Foundry and the Columbus Road Bridge. And as Terry had pointed out, they're kind of lost right now and you can't even see that. But if you go to the next slide, you can see how vibrant it is with the kind of the colors, floral patterns, and then some iconic Cleveland imagery as well as architecture that represents the areas in the Flats where these are located. So again, that's the last slide, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, but we're really looking forward to working with Garrett on these bike box art project.
Commission members?
I move approval. Downing.
Second, Fluker.
Motion is second. Any other comment? These are great and I think important. people really need them, places to put their bikes. So thank you. Call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
Motion carries. So last, I think we have some administrative approvals. Let's
Thank you.
scroll through them really fast. And so take a look as they go through. I think there's 3 or 4. Quincy Avenue. This one is,
So, Madam Chair, this is Councilwoman. Madam Chair, I can quickly just summarize as well. The first one was a street vacation. The second one is a street naming. This one is to authorize the Commissioner of Purchases to sell city-owned property in Beechwood. And then I think that's it.
okay. So 3 of them. Can I have a motion for the administrative approvals together?
I move approval.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I just want to mention that there are actually 4. They're on your final agenda, but there are 4, not 3.
Okay, do you know what the 4th one was?
Ordinance number 501-2022, authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to employ 1 or more professional consultants and testing firms to perform
Okay.
various construction activities.
Okay, thank you.
I made a motion, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Second, Fluker.
Motion and a second, call the roll?
Downing,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Slife.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask the director what she'd like to do. I do have to leave in 4 minutes. I know we finished the items, except is it possible, because I'd like to hear it if we hear the public art year-end report at another meeting, and is that okay? Or do
Yes, that is okay. Tara, I do want to ask for your opinion though, since this has been delayed once already.
I was hoping to go through this. It would take a few minutes, only because it had been delayed from the last meeting and we don't need a vote or a quorum just to present. But if Lillian is not available past 12, then I would say I'm fine with moving it.
Let's
I cannot, yeah, I cannot delay it if it's not time sensitive, Tara. I'd actually like to hear it if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay.
So the overview is of projects that have been going on for the last.
No, I meant in another meeting. I meant if you don't mind pushing it.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's fine. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. We can move it out to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so director's report. Go ahead, and I'll probably, as soon as I have to jump off, I might.
Totally fine. Maurice, if you could go to the director's report. This is probably the most critical, is that our next planning commission meeting, which is June 3rd, we will have a joint commission between Landmarks Commission and the City Planning Commission to review the final landscape and streetscape plan for Sherwin-Williams headquarters. So at 9 a.m. we will begin the joint commission. Once the presentation is complete and the vote is complete, the joint commission meeting will adjourn. And then the regular planning commission will begin on the same day, June 3rd. So the Landmarks Commission will leave once the Sherwin-Williams agenda is complete. We will also continue to be virtual until room 514 at City Hall has completed its renovation. Any questions about this to the commission?
Director, is that meeting, that special meeting, virtual?
It is virtual.
Okay.
Yes.
And my other question is, when we did the previous joint meetings, it included design review. Will they go to design review first and then come to this? Since they're advisory, will they go there first?
Yes, that's correct. They will go to the design review the day before with a joint design review, as any project would.
Okay, thank you.
Lillian, I know it's getting close to 12, so if you don't mind, I'll just keep going and say bye. Project updates. So some good news is that Representative Chantel Brown selected the downtown Memorial Bridges Loop, which is going to be a separated bike and pedestrian lane. And if you can imagine, across Tower City, across from Rocket Mortgage, to create a loop with the Detroit Bridge as well as the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge. It will move on to the next round of evaluation for the state of Ohio. So we're all really thrilled that Representative Brown selected this as a part of her top 15 picks out of 80 applications. And you can find more information on the selected projects at her website. As for legislative updates, Complete and Green Streets has passed through the City Council Transportation Mobility Committee, thanks to Callie Mersman from Planning and Annie Pease from the Capital Projects team. The legislation will then proceed onto additional council committee review next week and then go back to council for a vote before recess. And then out of the Department of Community Development, there's been quite a lot of discussion about tax abatement. And so the proposed tax abatement legislation has been passed through City Council's Development Planning and Sustainability Committee. And I believe will proceed back to City Council on Monday, May 23rd with some amendments. A staffing update. So a few months ago, we said goodbye to Shannon Leonard, who was our chief city planner of zoning. She is an amazing zoning personnel. I'm happy to report that Shannon is making her way back to Cleveland. She brought her talents to North Carolina for a few weeks and is coming back. So we're going to welcome her back in June, and we are going to refocus her role in zoning very much on form-based code, moving forward that work, as well as other innovative zoning work that will help both create much more urban form in the city, as well as create some more efficiencies in our some of the code that is outdated. As for upcoming job postings, please look next week for a senior assistant city planner job and a city planner job, neighborhood planning. We are looking for folks that may have a background in transportation planning, since we would need additional support there. Finally, just a few ways to continue being involved. NOACA has a public survey for their lakefront study, which encompasses 3 different counties, including Cuyahoga and our counties to the east and the west. Mayor Bibb also shared last week about his plan for the ARPA funds, the Rescue and Transformation Plan, which is meant to take a look at our funds that we've received. We are the 8th largest fund in the nation for ARPA, and what Mayor Bibb is proposing is 10 different focus areas, whether it's Let's Save Cleveland, inclusive economic recovery, arts, and neighborhood assets such as parks, 7 other categories that will create strategic funds for. And so this process is just starting underway. I'm really excited about the strategic approach towards these funds rather than a project by project review. And so I'm looking forward to being a part of this process in the administration, and you can look for additional updates from the mayor's page. With that, Mr. Vice Chair, I believe that is all.
All right. Any comments? Further comments? Oh, I believe this meeting is adjourned. Do we have a motion there?
Motion.